part of agriculture that a lot of people don't realize is a part of agriculture is something called resource science. And maybe once you actually hear about it, it'll make sense as why this is considered under the umbrella of agriculture. And it's something that you might be very interested in, depending on what you like to do in school and hobbies you might have. So resource science, and if you notice this is a solar panel here, they look at a variety of things, different types of power you can have, if it's wind power, solar power, water power, and it also can go all the way to animals, to working with animals. So this is a big area that you might be interested in. First, if you like working with plants, if you have a green thumb, so to speak, then resource science might be something that you would be interested in. And the reason you would say, well, exactly what would I do with science and plants? You can work on hybrids. You can work on understanding how plants grow in certain environments. And again, when we're talking agriculture, these are the people that really help to create seeds, for instance, that are drought resistant. We actually have seeds like that now. So if you're interested in plants and how they grow and in what conditions they grow and what affects them, maybe what pesticides can be used with them or not, things like that, that type of resource science is what we're talking about. Animals, if you like working with animals, and I'll go ahead and say, aw, it's a cute little raccoon. If you like working with animals, if you like researching animal behavior, animal habitats, how do they function, what type of things, where do animals live, certain type of animals live, then that is something that definitely is resource science. Because now if you're saying, so just a zoo, not at all. If you're working with farmers, one of the biggest problems farmers have are groundhogs. So how could you understand groundhogs? What are they going, what damage can they do to a field, for instance? That's part of resource science. So again, if you're interested in animals in that way, it doesn't always have to be a zoo, but that is also a possibility. But it also could be wildlife as well, and how that impacts an environment. Speaking of the environment, everything impacts the environment. If it's animal behavior, if it's plants, if it's climate control, everything is impacting the environment. So if you're a big environmentalist and you're interested in things that actually affect the way things grow or heat, or is the ozone layer starting to dissipate, then we're talking resource science. That's what we're talking about. You've got to be self-starting in this. And what I mean by that is you have to have motivation, because a lot of this, what we're talking about, is research, it's lab work, it's you finding out what's going on. So you have to be self-starting, you have to be able to solve problems, you have to be able to solve problems. So yes, you can work with other people and you can say, I'm having an issue with this. But what we're talking about with resource science is you are a problem solver. You see that there's an issue, maybe with a habitat, for instance, and how do we go about fixing that? And so you're doing the research, you're doing the legwork to actually try to figure out a way to make things better. So you have to be a good problem solver. You also have to be pretty good at chemistry and biology. So if this is something you're interested in, look right now at how you're doing in your science classes. And if science comes easy to you, that's good. That means that this might be right up your alley. If science doesn't come really easy to you, it doesn't mean you can't do it. It might just mean that you need to focus maybe a little bit more on chemistry and biology and maybe put a little more effort in and a little more will in, because I really would like to do this job, but okay, I gotta buckle down a little bit more in chemistry and biology, because that's what we're talking about. When we talk about plants and animals, we're talking chemistry and biology. Math and physics also are a big part of this, because you're talking about equations, you're talking about research, you're talking about how to figure out how to make something better in the science world, in the agricultural world. And so math and physics, to me, math and physics kind of go along with chemistry and biology. And my guess is if you're good at one, you're probably good at the other. If you're interested in one, you're probably interested in the other. Very rarely do I see students who just absolutely love biology and really, really love U.S. history. It usually doesn't go like that, because those are two different types of things. So if you're good at chemistry and biology, logic says you're probably pretty good at math and science. So keep that in mind. Those are the skills you're going to need. Now, as far as what exactly you're going to have to do post-high school, if you want to be an engineer of some kind, you're going to need a bachelor's degree. So, and notice I put some wind turbines here. Engineers are the ones who actually look at how can we make the environment better? If it's solar power, wind power, water power, you might have heard of a group called the Army Corps of Engineers. They're the ones who try to regulate floods and build dams and do things like that. That requires math, that requires chemistry and physics and all of that. So a bachelor's degree means you could be an engineer in that fashion. A doctorate degree means you could be a zoologist, for instance. So you could be the expert at the zoo on every animal that's there and the habitats they're living in and how you're actually investigating not just the zoo itself, but the habitat and how these animals interact with each other. So you can go all the way with this to a doctorate degree and become a zoologist. So as you see, when you're talking about resource science and you're talking about agriculture, the umbrella of agriculture, resource science is kind of helping the big picture of not just agriculture, but the environment of plants and animals, and kind of if you're a planet person, an environmental person, this might be something that's right up your alley. Good luck.